Hello, my name's Yasmin Sidwar. I'm Artistic Director of Mandala Theatre Company, and we are sharing these Gaza monologues in solidarity with Ashtar Theatre and the children and young people of Gaza on the UN International Day of Solidarity with the People of Palestine. The Gaza monologues, created by Ashtar Theatre with young people in Gaza after the war in 2010, are sadly as relevant and poignant today in 2023 as they were then. We stand with all those who have suffered loss, bombardment and imprisonment, and we call for a ceasefire and an end to the occupation. This is the foreword to the Gaza monologues published in 2010. 62 years after the Nakba, we are still living the brutality of occupation in all its forms every minute. I wish that my foreword could be about love, happiness and peace, but sadly we are forced to write about war, death and suffering. The Gaza monologues are a live picture of the situation of the Palestinian today. We remember the stories of war whose wounds still run deep in our souls, memories and bodies until this minute, especially the children of Gaza who suffered the war's atrocities without any wrongdoing. The monologues deal with the current Palestinian situation in all its complications, real personal stories experienced by the children of Gaza. It is another experiment in the journey of the active, committed Palestinian theatre, which works in very difficult circumstances. Its perseverance, though, confirms the greatness of theatre and its importance, especially to a people such as ours, that rise like a phoenix from the ashes of reality, the soul and the dreams. Our children's eyes still hope for a better tomorrow and a bright future. They still dream of freedom and peace. Written by Ali Abu Yassin, drama trainer, The Gaza Monologues, Gaza, 2010.
All the neighborhood kids loved him. He was calmer than a breeze. He would take his pocket money from my father and give it to me. Everyone loved him. His friends came and went with him to school. They went out running like butterflies, flying off the ground, like the world was created for them. The Israeli planes were in the air. The sound of the helicopter was like a monster waiting to pounce on its prey. A car of wanted men was driving along Yamuk Street, and the butterflies were near the car. The butterflies didn't know that this car would be the fire that would burn them. A rocket fell on the car. My brother Tariq flew 5 meters off the ground. He flew higher than the car and came down walking. Nothing was the matter with him. The ambulance came and took the corpses. People told him to get in the ambulance, but he told them, "Nothing's the matter with me." And he kept going to school. 100 meters later, he put his hand on his heart and fell down a martyr. I was in the street waiting for the school bus, and my sister told me to go see what's going on. I did. But I didn't see Tariq there, and I went on to school. While I was in class, my uncles came and told me, "You will take 3 days off school." I didn't suspect anything. We got in the car. My uncle told the driver, "Turn off the news." Then I started getting suspicious because my uncle loves the news. We go home and there was a big crowd of people around. Before I went down, I saw my father sitting on the chair, crying. It was the first time I saw my father cry. And he was holding the picture of my brother Tariq. I asked him, "Dad, Was my brother martyred? He said, God have mercy on his soul. The ambulance brought him from the hospital. We all ran to him to say goodbye. He was sleeping like an angel, with the book that he'd been carrying still in his hands. My father refused to let us go with him to the cemetery. But I got in the car and I went to say goodbye to him. And I read the Fatimah prayer on his grave. I kept going for 3 months every day to sit at his grave and talk to him. At night, I stare at his picture in the room with the hero martyr, Tariq, written on it. Since my brother was martyred, I got used to sleeping in the bed alone. We used to sleep one on top of the other, legs on top of heads. Sometimes it felt like all our limbs were jumbled together. But today, I have the bed to myself. I'll never forget my brother.
Gaza is a plane carrying people and travelling towards the unknown, landing neither in heaven nor in hell. No one knows when it will land, and people may stay suspended like that for twice my lifetime. All days here are the same. There's nothing new. The simplest thing is that dreams and wishes are hard to make true in Gaza, especially if they're like mine. To be an artist, singing and acting and playing music. But in Gaza, the only music is that of death and dancing on wounds. If I go abroad and study directing, how would society look at me? After I graduate, will the country be like now or worse? Everything for me is foggy and unclear, like people's faces on Friday at the Faras market, and like the day that the war began. The first hit was at the Ministry of Passports. My friend and I came out of an exam. It was the first day of the first term exams. We were sat in front of the school gate talking and waiting for the rest of our friends so we'd go home together. And suddenly there was a series of explosions. I was in shock and I felt like I was going to die. We ran away and I was really scared. I saw women running and screaming and beating their faces, and I had no idea what was going on. I felt like I couldn't stand on my legs. And the world started spinning. I fainted and stopped feeling anything. But then I woke up to my friend's voice shouting, "Amani, wake up, for God's sake!" When I woke up, I started crying, not knowing where to go or what to do. But an older girl helped me and took me home. As soon as I arrived, my mother took me in her arms. I was very tired, but at that moment I rested. I needed to fall into someone's arms. The hardest thing to feel is that your moment of death is near. The war was like a black ghost that covered Gaza's day and night. It imposed its hell on people and on the earth and the sky and the air that we breathe. After the war, I had a breakdown. A big, wild wave overtook my soul. I was thinking that I wouldn't be able to come out from under it. but it was like a hand was extended to me through theatre, a rubber ring that pulled me out from under the wave. Today I feel a comfort that I haven't felt in a long time, and I hope that I can always stay like this.
The hour that I hate most in the day is 12 noon. Every time the exams start, I feel that the war will start again. I can't answer any of the exam questions, and thoughts keep floating around in my head till I'm sick of them. I ask myself, is what's happening to me normal? Or am I sick? People say the Sea of Gaza washes all pains, but my pain is bigger than the sea. Because the last time I was at the sea, I was with my friend. We swam, played and had fun, but now I can't go to the sea anymore. The Talatini street is near the petrol station, and petrol was dear to people and expensive. It was a big deal to have a litre of petrol. There was a war going on, and people were afraid to buy anything. My dad sent me to buy petrol. After I bought it, I went to the house of my friend, Zaki, who lives near the station. I was missing him a lot, and hadn't seen him for more than 10 days. I got to his house, and I was in a hurry because my dad wanted me to return quickly with the petrol. I went inside their house without knocking the door. His mum considers me like her son, and me too. I said hello to her and to my friend, hugged him and kissed him, said hello to his brothers, and quickly left. When there were 20 meters between me and their house, I heard the loud sound of a plane, and after that, the sound of a rocket falling on my friend's house. People started screaming that the house was bombed. I couldn't believe it. I looked back at my friend's house and saw fire and smoke coming out of it. I'd never seen anything like that. I went back running to our house. When I got there, my dad told me, "Your friend died." No, he didn't. Everyone started telling me, "Your friend Zaki died." And I didn't believe them. That's why I didn't go to the funeral, or the hospital, or the cemetery, because Zaki did not die. I always talk to him at night. Well, not exactly to him, to his photo. I'm very upset with him because he doesn't come visit me anymore. And also I stopped visiting him at home. I'm sure he's not dead. And for sure there will come a day when we meet. Then I'll blame him. Because I miss him so much.
What I love most in Gaza is people's kindness and simplicity. And what I hate most is the political party fanaticism. Sometimes I feel that there's a contradiction between all this love and kindness that people have and the evil that controls the surface. If it were in my hands, I'd solve the problem of the Palestinian division tomorrow. In the war, they assassinated a big Hamas leader. All the media in the world covered the incident, but the world was in one valley, and we were in the other. Because Modi and Saluma, my young brothers, and my dad had gone to our land that's next to the Hamas leader, we called them 1,000 times. And as usual, the Jawal mobile lines wouldn't go through, which stressed us out even more. Mum started pacing the balcony like a small bird from whom they'd taken her children. She imagined that the balcony would somehow rescue Modi and Saluma and Dad. I was really stressed. I started crying, and I went down to my aunt. My aunt started soothing me. She lied to me and she told me that she had called them and spoken to them. I knew that she hadn't talked to them, but she was holding me and crying, and I was crying too. When I went up to our house, I saw Mum was still pacing the balcony. I forgot to tell you that Modi and Saluma are 5 and 7 years old. They used to sleep in my arms. My soul was connected to them. I felt at the time that my soul was going to escape and that I would die. And honestly, only then I felt that there was a war on Gaza, because I was busy with the computer all the time, and that day was the first time I'd lived the war. An hour later, there was knocking on the door of our house. Dad and Saluma and Moody came back. As much as I loved them, this was the first time that I felt how much they were really dear to me, how much I couldn't bear to be parted from them. I put them on my lap and I kissed them like it was the first time I held them. And Mum stopped pacing the balcony, and it was the first time I felt that she'd loved Dad like this. After the war, I started thinking, why are we like that out of the whole world? They took our land and threw us out of our homes, and because we were defending ourselves, all this happens to us. There's no water, no electricity, no phones, no petrol. What are we to the world? Aren't we human?
Relax, girls. Don't be scared. This is just the sound of aimless shooting. That's what our teacher said as soon as the bombing started. After a while, her mobile phone rang, and she spoke a few words only. 120 martyrs. She smashed her mobile on the floor and told us, "Go home, all of you." As soon as we went out into the yard, we saw our parents. Some of them in pajamas, some in their undershirts, and some barefoot. We were very scared. My 2 sisters and I kept waiting for Dad, but he was really late. So we decided to go home by ourselves, even though it's a long way. On the way, I saw something for the very first time. A martyr being carried on a coffin wrapped in a flag of Palestine, with banners around him and people crying. But the weird thing is that the funeral barely had 30 people in it. Funerals of martyrs usually have thousands. That's when I felt that there was really some big catastrophe going on in the country. I got scared for Dad. I didn't want him to come get us because I was scared he'd be hit by a rocket. I was also scared of dying. And I didn't want to die now, because it would be a catastrophe if I died and no one came to my funeral. I started running home, and people were running around us like it was doomsday. No one knew where they were going because the sound of rockets didn't stop. Every few seconds, a rocket would fall and shake the ground. I felt that the streets were not the same streets, nor were the people the same people. Strange sights, sounds, and smells. After the war, a lot of things changed inside me. I started hating going to the bathroom. From the second I go in, I can't wait to come running out. Because all that time in the war, I was afraid that they'd hit a rocket on our house when I am in the bathroom. In there, one would be in great focus, and, well, you know the rest. I also started hating the morning line at school. When the war started, I was in the line. That's why today I feel that the minutes in the line are hours of fear and worry. All school for me is one pile, and the line is another. I started having terrifying dreams. All night, I have a conflict within myself between desire to sleep and fear of nightmares. Sleep became a monster hiding behind my eyelids. I stay like that till morning. I don't know when I sleep and when I woke up. I want to become an actress. And that is a hard dream to fulfill in Gaza, especially for girls. I tell myself it is a shame for people in Gaza to be deprived of my talent, because I could become an important actress. But if they don't want me, well, to hell with them. I'll go to any country and act there. Gazans are deprived of everything anyway. It doesn't stop at theater. Sometimes I think people in Gaza can barely find food. How are they going to go to the theater? You know? I wish I could live in a civil, democratic country with peace and 20 cinemas, and keep watching movies and flying in my imagination and dreaming.
Our future in Gaza is obscured and unknown, like a calm volcano that can erupt at any second. As if we're on a boat without a captain in the midst of a raging sea. We go right and left, and no one knows where to lean. I hear in other countries, childhood is sacred, and children live their lives without problem and fear. But Gaza's children are forgotten and outside the picture. They are the ones who feel the injustice the most because society treats them like they're not kids. When it wants, it makes them adults, and when it wants, it returns them to being children. And most people deal with them like they're only bodies, not minds. When I see a child peddling in the street or walking in a shop, I imagine how the children of the world are playing, resting, and feeling safe. Honestly, my heart breaks for them, and sometimes I cry. Gaza has no tenderness, no childhood. A boy is born a man here and a girl born a bride. Dad before the war was a lot more tender with me. I wish he could take me back in his arms like before, but God help him. He's probably worried too. Because in the war, we lost 5 dunams of land in a second. The field that was 60 years old was hit by a rocket from the Israeli army, which burned all the oranges in it. My father, my brother, and myself could have also died by the rocket, because we were so close to the window. If Dad hadn't thrown me on the ground, all the shrapnel would have hit me. After the war, I visited Rafah Crossing and I saw the flags of Palestine and Egypt next to each other, yet separated by a wire. I felt the difference between the two flags and that this wire is the border of this big prison that we live in. I feel how stupid and unjust the world is. I felt like breaking all borders and ending all differences between race and religion so everyone in the world could be brothers. My dream became to live in a safe country, even in a small village, in a distant island at the end of the world.
This is a letter written by the same Ali Abu Yassin who wrote the foreword to the Gaza Monologues in 2010. And this is his letter to a friend today in October 2023. My friend, when I read your letter asking me to write a word about Gaza, I usually answer you immediately. This time I was silent for days. The words escaped me. Why? Maybe because of the horror of what we're living. Because early this morning, my family and I miraculously survived due to a crazy missile that destroyed our neighbour's house and threw the rubble onto our house. Or because I feel that the pictures I see are more eloquent than all the words. Or because I'm no longer very convinced of the usefulness of talking, especially since we're talking about the justice of our cause in the midst of the daily killing, siege, starvation and state terrorism which we have been subject to for over 75 years with no answer. My friend, yesterday the Israel occupation forces bombed the Baptist hospital in Gaza, and so far more than 500 people have been martyred. They were cut into pieces and became a pile of meat. As playwrights, we know that one of the cruelest theatrical tragedies is the play Antigone, in which King Creon refuses to bury Antigone's brother. And from here, the dialogue between them revolves around what it means to be human. What is dignity, value, and rights even after death? Antigone sees the body of her brother in front of her and could not bear leaving him unburied. Whilst the bodies that we saw after the Baptist hospital massacre, without heads, hands, or feet, are the new tragedy of our era. An old woman at the rubble of the hospital addressed a nurse, asking him, "Son, give me that hand lying there." I recognised it from the ring. It's my daughter's hand that I leaned on in the morning when she helped me sit on the chair to watch the news. That hand that turned on the TV for me. She greeted me and kissed my hand before leaving. That hand that always embraced me and patted my shoulder. That hand that combed my hair and always cut my nails. That hand, my son, was the source of all my strength in my last days. Let me give her my last kiss so that it will spare me the need to have more of my daughter's body. My friend, I do not know what to write anymore. If you consider this a word, so read it to your friends and give them my thanks and appreciation, because I know that free people with big hearts, human attitudes and principles have become very few these days. From Gaza to Laval, which I loved, and to Paris, which I adored, we will meet one day when I am free, like the rest of the inhabitants of this earth. Ali Abu Yassin, October the 18th, 2023.
Hello, old and new friends of Ashtar Theatre and Palestine. I would like to thank you all for being with us on this call. I am Iman Aoun, co-founder of Ashtar Theatre, creator of the Gaza Monologues. When we did the Gaza Monologues back in 2010, we thought that that would be the first and last war on our people in Gaza. But alas, it did not work out. Therefore, there was another war, and another, and another, and it continued on and on and on for the last 17 years. At the moment, with all that you have seen in the media and all that you have done in your countries, in your cities, still nothing on the ground is being changed. We, as a small company in Palestine, we're trying to keep the voice of the people of Palestine and of the people of Gaza heard. And therefore, we are calling upon you that these monologues, they do not only go into your hearts and minds, but that these monologues will become a paveway for a real change, a real pressure on your governments to take action that will bring justice and long-lasting solution for a sovereign state for Palestine, that the world will all agree to have and will all recognize the state of Palestine. Because through peace and with peace, we can all live as regular people. Thank you. Thank you for being with us on this call, and we are all together to save our humanity.